Imagine standing inside a huge military bunker, surrounded by concrete walls several feet thick. The lights are gone. The machines are silent. Dust covers the floors. And yet, behind those walls, people once waited for the possibility of a war that could have changed the entire world. For almost 50 years, the Cold War divided the world into two powerful sides. The United States and its allies faced the Soviet Union and its allies. There was no direct war between the two superpowers, but the fear was always there. Governments built secret bunkers, radar stations, missile bases, military towns, and underground command centers. Many of these places were designed to survive a nuclear attack. Today, some have been abandoned and left to slowly disappear. In this video, we are visiting 7 Cold War sites that were once part of this massive military world. These places are not just empty buildings. They are reminders of a time when the future of the world could have changed in a matter of minutes. Number 7 is Teufelsberg, Germany. High above the city of Berlin sits a strange collection of giant white domes. They look almost like something from a science fiction movie, but they were once part of one of the most important listening stations of the Cold War. This place is called Teufelsberg. The site was built on top of a huge artificial hill made from the rubble of Berlin after World War II. During the Cold War, American and British intelligence agencies used the station to listen to radio communications coming from East Germany and other parts of the Soviet-controlled region. The giant radar domes protected sensitive equipment from the weather while allowing antennas inside to scan the surrounding area. From this location, intelligence teams could monitor military communications and collect information that could be important to Western governments. Inside the station, hundreds of people once worked around the clock. The equipment was constantly running, and the people stationed here were part of a huge intelligence network spread across Europe. But then the Cold War ended. The Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, and the need for the listening station disappeared. Teufelsberg was eventually abandoned. Today, the huge white domes still stand above Berlin. The buildings are covered with graffiti, plants grow through broken concrete, and empty rooms remain inside the old station. What was once a highly secret military location has become a strange, abandoned landmark overlooking one of Europe's biggest cities. Number 6 is Greenbrier Bunker, United States. Deep underneath a luxury resort in West Virginia was a secret bunker built to protect the United States government from nuclear war. Known as the Greenbrier Bunker, the facility was constructed during the Cold War in the late 1950s. From the outside, the area looked like an ordinary resort. But underneath it was something completely different. The bunker was designed as an emergency shelter for members of the United States Congress. If Washington, D.C. came under nuclear attack, important government officials could be moved here. The facility was enormous. It contained sleeping areas, offices, meeting rooms, kitchens, medical spaces, communication equipment, and even a large room that could be used as a temporary meeting chamber for Congress. The bunker had thick concrete walls and heavy blast doors. It was designed to keep people alive even if a nuclear attack destroyed much of the country around them. For decades, the facility was kept ready in secret. Workers maintained the equipment, checked the supplies, and made sure the bunker could be used if the worst ever happened. But the secret eventually came out. In the early 1990s, after the Cold War was already coming to an end, the existence of the bunker was revealed to the public. The government no longer needed it, and the facility was eventually declassified. Unlike many abandoned Cold War locations, the Greenbrier Bunker was preserved and opened for tours. Number 5 is Duga Radar, Ukraine. Hidden deep inside the forests near Chernobyl is one of the most mysterious Cold War structures ever built. It is known as Duga. The most famous part of the site is a massive metal radar array that rises above the trees. It is enormous, stretching hundreds of meters across the forest. During the Cold War, Duga was part of a Soviet early warning radar system. Its purpose was simple but extremely important: detect a possible missile launch. If the Soviet military believed that the United States had launched nuclear missiles, every minute would matter. Duga was designed to detect signals that could help provide an early warning. But the system had an unusual side effect. People around the world sometimes heard a strange repetitive noise on shortwave radio frequencies. The sound became known as the Russian woodpecker because of its rapid tapping noise. For years, many radio users had no idea where the signal was coming from. Then the Soviet Union collapsed. The Duga system was shut down, and the huge radar structure was left behind. Today, the giant metal array still stands among the trees. The surrounding area is part of the Chernobyl exclusion zone, which has kept many structures from being redeveloped. Nature has slowly taken over roads, buildings, and military facilities. Duga is especially impressive because of its size. Standing beneath the structure makes it difficult to understand how something this enormous could have been built deep inside a forest and kept so secret for so long. It is one of the clearest examples of how far the Soviet Union went to prepare for a possible nuclear conflict. Number 4 is Belitz Military Hospital, Germany. Not every Cold War site was built to launch missiles or collect intelligence. Some were designed to save the people who might survive a war. One example is Belitz Military Hospital in Germany. The hospital complex has a much older history, but during the Cold War, it became an important military medical facility used by Soviet forces stationed in East Germany. The huge complex included hospitals, treatment rooms, operating areas, living quarters, and other military facilities. For decades, Soviet soldiers and officers were treated here. But after the fall of the Berlin Wall and the collapse of the Soviet Union, the Soviet military began leaving Germany. The hospital complex eventually lost its military purpose. Some parts were reused, but other sections were left empty. Over time, broken windows, damaged walls, and vegetation began changing the appearance of the buildings. Today, the abandoned sections give visitors a look into a world that disappeared more than 3 decades ago. Long corridors stretch through empty buildings. Old rooms sit without their original equipment. Nature pushes through windows and cracks in the walls. What makes Belitz interesting is that it shows another side of the Cold War. Behind the missiles, tanks, spies, and military bases were thousands of ordinary soldiers who still needed doctors, nurses, surgery, and medical care. The hospital was built to serve a powerful military machine. When that machine disappeared from Germany, the complex was left behind. Number 3 is Mount Bezludza, Bulgaria. High in the Bulgarian mountains sits one of the strangest abandoned buildings from the communist era. It looks like a giant concrete UFO. This is the Bezludza Monument. The building was completed in 1981 by the Bulgarian Communist government. It was created as a monument to the Bulgarian socialist movement and was used for political meetings and ceremonies. The design was extremely ambitious. The huge circular building sits high on a mountain, with a tall tower rising beside it. Inside, the main hall was decorated with massive mosaics showing communist leaders and symbols. At the time, it was a powerful symbol of the Bulgarian communist state. But the political system that created it eventually disappeared. In 1989, Bulgaria moved away from communist rule. The monument lost its purpose, and the building was abandoned. Without regular maintenance, the harsh mountain weather began destroying it. The windows broke. Water entered the building. Parts of the roof deteriorated. The enormous mosaics became exposed to the elements. Yet the structure still stands. From a distance, it looks almost unreal. A giant concrete spaceship sitting alone above the mountains. Inside, however, you can see the remains of another political era. The faded artwork and enormous empty hall tell a story about a government that once believed its system would last forever. Instead, the building became a symbol of how quickly political power can disappear. Number 2 is Pyramiden, Svalbard. Far north in the Arctic is a place that feels almost completely disconnected from the modern world. Its name is Pyramiden. Located on the Norwegian island of Spitsbergen, Pyramiden was once a Soviet mining settlement. The town was built around coal mining and became home to hundreds of Soviet workers and their families. During the Cold War, Pyramiden had an important symbolic role. It showed that the Soviet Union could maintain a community and industrial operation in one of the most difficult environments on Earth. The town had apartments, a school, a sports hall, a swimming pool, a cultural center, and other facilities. People lived surprisingly normal lives in a place surrounded by Arctic wilderness. But the coal mine eventually became unprofitable. In 1998, the Soviet-era settlement was abandoned. The residents left quickly, and much of the town was simply left behind. Today, Pyramiden looks like a frozen snapshot of Soviet life. Buildings still stand against the mountains. Empty apartments and public spaces remain. Old signs and objects can still be found around the settlement. The most striking thing about Pyramiden is the silence. There are no busy streets, no large crowds, no modern city noise. Instead, there are mountains, snow, old Soviet buildings, and the Arctic wind. It is one of those places where you can almost imagine the people who once lived there walking through the same streets. Pyramiden was created as a functioning community. Today, it feels like a town that time forgot. Number 1 is Plokstein Missile Base, Lithuania. Deep inside the forests of Lithuania is a place that once held one of the most dangerous weapons on Earth. This was the Plokstein Missile Base. Built by the Soviet Union during the early 1960s, the facility was designed to hide nuclear missiles underground. The location was carefully chosen. From the surface, there was little to suggest that a major military installation was hidden beneath the forest. But underground was a completely different world. The base contained a deep missile shaft, control rooms, tunnels, storage areas, and other military facilities. The missile stored here was capable of carrying a nuclear warhead. The idea was to keep the weapon hidden and ready for use if a major conflict began. The facility was part of a much larger Soviet missile network spread across the country. For the soldiers working there, secrecy was extremely important. They were surrounded by concrete, steel, underground tunnels, and military security. But the Cold War eventually ended. Lithuania regained independence in 1990, and the Soviet military left the country. The missile base was abandoned. For years, the underground complex remained hidden from most people. Today, parts of the facility have been preserved as a museum. Visitors can enter the underground spaces and see the huge shaft where a nuclear missile was once kept. The Cold War ended more than 3 decades ago, but its abandoned sites are still scattered across the world. Some are hidden beneath forests. Some sit on mountaintops. Others are buried underground or slowly being taken back by nature. They were built during a time when governments believed a nuclear war could happen at any moment. Today, many of these places are silent. The machines have stopped. The soldiers are gone. The warning systems no longer operate. But the buildings remain. And they tell us something important. The Cold War was not only about presidents, missiles, and military power. It was also about ordinary people living under the shadow of a war that never came.